and just coming off fall camp, the season getting underway. Let's start out with just talking about fall camp and how it's gone for your team.
Yeah, fall camp's always one of those things where you want to get, high level competition. You want to see, what guys have kind of made leaps and bounds of growth in their game and their understanding of your schemes. And you want to come out of it healthy. And I think we covered all those. I'm really excited about seeing this team compete. We're a really tight knit group right now. The guys in the locker room really enjoy each other's company. And, when they get after on the field and we practice in a smart way. So, they've put in the work, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do.
You've had so many new faces, and that's across college football. I think in the era that we're in, what's the biggest challenge of trying to blend those guys into a cohesive unit?
Well, a lot of people use that buzz term these days, culture, and culture requires a level of continuity. It's tough to build a really strong culture with a team when there's a lot of moving parts. But the guys who have been in house and understand what the expectations and standards are, they're the stewards of the program, and they have to teach the new guys how to play as Danes. And I think the guys that we kept in house, that were committed to this program and chose not to leave, did a great job accepting the new guys and teaching them, and the new guys have bought in. So we're in a good spot with that.
First question this morning from Maddie Rizek. Go ahead, Maddie.
Morning, Coach. I'm Madison Ritzik from the Cedar Rapids Gazette. I was just curious, when you have a game to start your season like Iowa, what are your goals as a head coach to learn about your team in a tough environment like a Big Ten matchup?
First, you just got to get there. Sometimes some of these big games, there's a challenge to travel. We got a great operations team that does a good job of that. But the game itself is, you want your guys to go out there, regardless of how big of a program or small of a program, and compete their tails off. And it's going to be great environment there. But at the same token, Iowa can only send out 11 guys at a time. So can we. So I want to see them not allow the circumstances of the game, the crowd noise, the gravity of the stadium being larger than what we're used to playing in, not be an issue for them, and just focus on their job and play hard. And I think any team who does that for 4 straight quarters is going to be pleased with the result of how they played. But I'm not going to shortchange Iowa. I mean, there's a reason why Coach Ferentz has been there for, I think it was his 27th year. He runs a heck of a program, and you talk about culture. He should be the guy giving speeches on it all over the country. So you want to see your guys show up, throw caution to the wind and compete their tails off, and see what happens when 60 minutes are up.
All right, thanks, Coach.
My pleasure.
Jared, let's talk about your team a little bit and start on the offensive side of the ball. You had a battle when we talked at media day at the quarterback spot. Have you kind of resolved that? And who do you see taking snaps week one?
Yeah, we in spring ball, Van Weber got hurt. He played the last 3 games of the year for us at quarterback and did a more than admirable job. I think he's got a great career ahead of him. But he non-contact knee injury, so we felt like the 2 guys who were in house did a really good job in the spring, and Aiden Semo and Kyle Keckler. But in this league, we had 3 quarterbacks on our roster last year going into game 8, 9, 10, 11, and Trey Lindsey wound up taking a starting job at Stony Brook, got hurt 7 plays in. So we knew we had to go get 2 of them. So we went and got Jack Shields from Buffalo by way of Old Dominion, and Colin Parachek from Marshall. And those guys came in and competed real well. Jack took the reins of the job probably about 10, 12 practices in, and he's not Reese Poffenbarger, but their game's very similar as far as their passing acumen. And he does everything right. So he protects the ball, finds the open guy. So I feel really strong about our quarterback position right now.
Let's talk about the rest of the offense. JoJo and Griffin back at the running back spot, and some experience back at receiver. Just talk about your offense in general and some other guys that have caught your eye through camp.
Yeah, running back wise, I think we're a little bit of a 3-headed monster between JoJo Ugo, Griffin Liddell, and Alex Dredge. Alex Dredge came on late in the season and played really well against Rhode Island and Hampton. And then at wide receiver, Caden Birdie comes back. Caden was really working himself back into form last year. 23, he was our leading receiver and wound up having an injury to his foot against Towson. And, really did not quite get to form as he would have liked it last year, but started really putting together some good weeks as he went. And then, we brought in a couple guys, Kylan Austin, Josiah Barron, their transfers. And then a guy who's really shown up, two guys, or three guys actually. Jordan Ray's a guy we converted from quarterback to wide receiver who can absolutely fly, and he's still learning the ins and outs of the position, but he's got playmaking ability. And then LaSalle Rose and Tavari Groves are both, speed guys who are smoothing their routes and catch the ball well. So I love our group there. I think there's a lot of juice, and they can make some big plays.
Let's flip around to the other side of the ball on your defense. Also, some new guys that are going to have to take a lot of snaps for you on that side of the ball. Who are some guys that have impressed you throughout the camp on defense?
Yeah, we got guys that I like at all three levels. We returned a guy from the 23 season that played inside, Nico Eberhardt, who was a freshman in 23. He's very good inside. He's from Aliquippa, PA, plays a high level brand of football. And then both of our defensive ends return, and Balansama Kamara and Abe Sanogo. Both those guys can be a handful to deal with. Our tackles will tell you as such from our camp that we just finished. And then a linebacker, Ron Holmes played every snap for us last year, give or take. He's a leader on this team. He's a captain. He does everything right. He can direct the defense, and he's more comfortable in the defense this year, being the second year. And then on the back end, both of our safeties return, and one of our corners return. So, those guys, the continuity, like I mentioned earlier, the longer they can stay in one place and play in one scheme and system, the yield's going to be higher. And all those guys combined, I think our defense has a shot to be really, really solid. They run to the ball, they tackle, and they play together. So what else can you ask for with the defense?
You talked about a little bit about Iowa and the challenges they present to Maddie. When you're facing a Big Ten team to start your season, what's the biggest thing you're going to want to see from your guys, and what are the biggest challenges that presents?
I think a lot of times guys go into these games where you're playing the Power Four team, and they're going in there with individual motivations to prove themselves. Playing on a level that maybe they didn't have the opportunity to play on out of high school, and I really don't want to see any of that from our team. I want us to play together, whether it be rain, sun, snow, cold, heat. Circumstances are something that you cannot control, and we can't control how many people are going to show up and scream there. So I want us to just play a focused brand of football and stay locked in on what our jobs are, play to play, and then just go after them. I want our guys to play aggressive and, pin their ears back and hold nothing back.
You've played these FBS games in the past as an FCS coach and had some success in years that you've been able to do that. What have been the keys to being able to do that?
Yeah, two games that stick out for me. We opened up against UConn when I was at Towson and wound up winning that game. And our guys just had confidence walking in. They didn't care that they had, 23 more scholarships, and they didn't care how many people were going to be there. They just went and played their game. And we played LSU the year prior. We might have been winning at halftime. I can't quite remember it. And Odell Beckham kind of decided that wasn't going to be the outcome of the game. But same type thing. The guys went down. They didn't care that we were playing in Death Valley. They didn't care it was 100,000 people. They just wanted to go show the guys that they can play at this level and compete as a unit. And they did it as a team. And while we didn't come out on top, we definitely gained confidence from the experience, knowing that we can play with anybody in the country.
One of the things that the benefit to that game, obviously you're going to get some national television exposure on FS1. How big is that for your program, getting your name out there?
Well, watching Iowa's O-line and D-line, hopefully it can give us some stakes in recruiting some of those monsters from the Midwest. For one, I got no problem flying out to Cedar Rapids and trying to find some of those linemen. They're phenomenal. But anytime your program can get on a national stage, it's good to show people that guys who might be interested and come to play for you at some point will have the opportunity to play on national TV. And, if you have a good showing, it really puts some wind in the sails of your program. So in our mind, you take the check away that they're paying us to go out there and play. I don't see a negative in this at all. And I don't want to play 10 of them for sure. And, 2 years ago, we played 2 of them, but I do see the benefit in playing this, and, hopefully it helps us on the field and off the field.
And before I let you go, just maybe your emotions. First game as head coach at UAlbany. How are you feeling headed into the weekend?
Well, actually, it's my second, Rob. I
Uh,
had to coach that Hawaii game 2 years ago when Greg was sick. But no, I have the luxury of being, two head coaches were a giant part of my life. So going into it, I just want to make sure that I can do everything in my power to make sure we have the best chance to go compete at a high level and try not to make any decisions that put us in jeopardy. Other than that, uh, I think we're ready to go. I'm just a cog in the wheel. While I'm maybe the centerpiece of the wheel is the head coach. This has been and always will be a player's game. And, as the head coach, I just want to direct them in the right place and send them off and let them go get it.
Sounds great. Thanks.